Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So I am actually really excited to share this piece of illustration with you guys. It took a lot of work to figure out the composition, but when I did figure it out, oh my gosh, it was so fun to do. It was just so hilarious. So I'm just gonna quickly talk about what I'm using. As usual, I'm using my watercolor, but for the face I'm using gouache. I'm using gouache paint of brown, pink, and white, which is the normal skin tone color that actually artists use for every single skin tone out there. So yeah, I'm just gonna make her look a bit sun-kissed. And so basically for this sketch, it took me such a long time to figure out. I don't know if you could see it on the page how much rubbing out I had to do for this sketch. So I had this idea of a kid playing on a tire. So in the tropical climate, in the warmer climate, like kids, we live outside. This is what we do. We play outside. We have fun outside. And I'm like, should I make it a dog? And I just could not, for the life of me, figure out the direction in which the tire should go. But eventually I did. But after it was after a lot of tries, and I was like, how should she sit on this tire? How should he or she sit? Because at the time I hadn't decided if it's going to be a he or a she. And I'm like, all right then. I let it sit like this, and then I was like, okay, something is missing. Should this boy, I thought it was going to be a little boy, hold a sword? I was like, all right, maybe a stick will do. Pretend. They're doing pretend play here, so the kid could pretend that it's a sword instead of the kid could pretend that the stick is a sword instead of a stick, or whatever they want it to be. And then I decided I want to add a pet, because as already know, I completely love little kids who have pets. I love all kids actually, but I just love to see the interaction between kids and pets. They tend to treat their pets, most kids, not all, treat their pets like a best friend or even part of the family, where literally you gotta take care of the pet in the exact same way the parents take care of them. So the doggy was a little bit tricky to draw in over the tire, because I'm like, do dogs sit in tires? Do they hang from tires on trees? All these different questions my one illustration is bringing up. So I googled different images of puppies and tires, and I see them jumping through it. I was like, okay, I have to make up what a doggy will look like if it were to sit in a tire. And that is how this sketch came about. I completely love it. I love the way it came out because it's fun, and it's meant to be really fun. And it also tells a story. I remember doing a picture book course a few years ago. It must have been 3 years ago. And we were meant to draw monsters, a monster's birthday party. And one of the things the guy said is, when you're doing like an illustration, they call it spot illustration. So there's like the full page spread, there's a half page spread, and then there's spot illustration. For those who may not be aware, a full spread of illustration will be if you open a picture book and you see both pages covered in illustration. That's considered like a full spread. A half spread will be like one page of a double page is illustration, the other page words. A spot illustration would be something like this, where it's just a tiny part of the page that has illustration on it. So one of the things he said is, when you are doing an illustration of any kind, make sure there's some type of story going on. Make sure there's some type of illustrated like idea or story behind it. Don't just draw your characters standing there looking at you in the face because it makes the story really boring. You know, in real life we're always doing something. Our hands are doing something, our feet, our face, our mouth. We're always doing something for a specific reason. So with that in mind, I always create my illustrations with kids either interacting with their imaginations, with their pet, whether it be a puppy or a ladybug. Yeah, I always create them interacting together. So I decided on this one, and I completely love it. It looks fun, it looks very summery, and I think at the time it was so cold outside, I was like, I need some summer of fun. We just go out there and just hang out. So for this, I remember as well, for this particular illustration, I remember 2 years ago trying to do an illustration like this, that with a girl on a tire with a pet on the ground in a back garden, and it gave me a lot of grief. It was a bit tricky to do because I just could not for the life of me get the positioning correct on the little girl on the tire. So after like a day of struggling with it, I threw it in the bin. 2 years later, here I am doing the exact same illustration, not exact, but a similar illustration, and it worked out fine. So generally with illustrations like this, I was like, should I put her over like a water or anything? Like a river? You know, a tire on a tree hanging over a little bit of a river? I was like, nah, this will do. And the puppy, I love his expressions. He's like, oh my gosh, I have been through so much adventure with this little girl. She takes me literally everywhere. I'm changing my voice to match what I think the puppy's voice might be like. Do you think he looks scared? Do you think he looks concerned? What type of look he looks like? I was like, oh gosh, here we go again. Do you think he's saying that? I completely love giving stories to my illustrations. Giving it a little bit of a story, even if it's just making it up on the spot, as I am doing right now. It makes it fun, it makes it more interesting. So let's just say that they're out and about and they're swinging, which they are, and they're having a lot of fun, and the little girl is like using her imagination to pretend that there are more kids around, and she's with our doggy having an adventure. But the doggy, he looks a little bit more mature than she does. He's like, oh dear. So let me talk a little bit about the doggy skin tone and what I decided to do. So I looked up, maybe more ideas of the story will come to me. So I looked up on the internet dogs. I wanted to make him spotty. I didn't want to make him one complexion because I was considering the tire. I was considering the color of the tire. I was considering the color of the little girl's leg, and I didn't want them blending in with each other. I thought the white doggy looks quite nice, but I was like, let me try a different complexion here. So I decided on brown or dark brown, so that the little girl and the tire and the doggy would not blend in with each other, but they will stick out. And that's what I did. So as you see, I'm using a mixture of different things to put in the details for the dog. He's really fun. And towards the end of the illustration, I just went over it with a little bit of color pencils. Doing her hair was the funnest part of all. I just kept going. I knew I should have stopped, but I just kept going because it was just so fun. I just like, oh, more details, more. Use a color pencil to make her hair look even crazier than it actually is. Putting color pencils around the doggies, some of his features and stuff. Yeah. So there you have it, guys. There's another fun illustration for you. I hope it has warmed your hearts. I hope it has brought a smile on your faces. I hope you like it, and don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and I will see you in my next video, which will be very soon. Bye!